What up, people? Happy Thursday. It's Kamari Ellis here, the Finance Rebel. Welcome to the Finance Rebel Show. If you don't know, if you didn't see the cover, this show is going to be all about Black Lives Matter and the recent tax return they just submitted to the IRS and other news agencies. Now, if you are interested in how the workings of nonprofits go, if you are interested in how movements go, this is a show you're going to want to watch. Now, for the record, this is not going to be a takedown. This is not going to be a slander show, right? I am doing this because I'm hoping folks can get a better understanding, as always, what their monies, how they work, how to operationalize money for the betterment of what the black community. So, again, there was a lot of things that went wrong with this, but there's some right that went wrong with it too. And I'll probably have to do this in two segments because it's a lot to get into. And it's actually sad that a lot of this is getting portrayed the way it is in the media, but it's also deserved, right? If you can understand what I'm saying. I'm not speaking out of two sides or both sides of my mouth, but I appreciate the work that Black Lives Matter has done, the awareness they have brought, but they hit some major speed bumps, right? They hit some major speed bumps. So listen, if you know anybody that's a nonprofit or that is interested what you should be doing when you're looking to support Black organizations, this is the show they should be watching. So share this out with them and let's get at it. So I've been away for a little bit, y'all. Bunch of work going on, trying to maintain sanity, but I'm here. I could not let this opportunity, so to speak, to educate pass us by. But if you're not familiar, if you've been under a rock, head in the sand for the last almost 10 years, Black Lives Matter has been around. They've probably been in your area, and they have been working to further elevate the voices of Black people to create more equity and actually more justice, right? It was started as a result of the slaying of Trayvon Martin originally, but it really got a lot of its legs after Michael Brown was slain in Ferguson, right outside of St. Louis. And so many people don't understand what Black Lives Matter is. It's actually not one organization, but a collection of organizations, right? And actually a lot of people, there's a lot of Black Lives Matters organizations, and I will actually show you a lot of this as well. But a lot of people have been jumping on the bandwagon of Black Lives Matter, but I'll break it down. So, my hopes are for you to want to get a better understanding of how nonprofit money works. Two, a better understanding of how nonprofit money should work or movement money should work. A lot of times in the Black community, we have this really negative association with money. We have this negative association with capitalism, quote unquote capitalism. Y'all have seen me rant about that oftentimes, because I feel like our negative association with capitalism actually hinders us because we don't understand that it actually takes money to make things happen. But not just money for the sake of money, right? It needs to be culturally filtered money, to put it in a better term, right? It should be not just get rich and die trying type money. It should be get rich to further feed and develop my community type work. So that's what we're talking about tonight. That's what we're looking to gain here. And so I see many of you are joining in. Just going to give some of y'all some shout outs real quick. Northern Bell. Hey, Northern Bell, how you doing? Hey, John. Now, John, how do you say your name? Is it John Dicey, DC? Correct me if I'm wrong. And shout out to the Facebook user. Say good evening, Kamari, liked and shared. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Listen, hit the comment on my post and give StreamYard ability to share your name and your information so I can address you personally, right? I like to talk to my people. Y'all know that. Hey, John, I appreciate that. $2 in a kitty. I appreciate that. I've been doing a lot of work around the house, so that can go in the kitty bucket. So thank you. All right. And Facebook user says, I like your shirt. Thank you. Another great Black nonprofit that does a lot of work in the community. This is their shirt. This is I am having a mental meltdown right now. Blackman Hill. This is a shirt from Blackman Hill. I'm a big proponent of shirts, and actually y'all going to see a new project for merch that I'm going to put out promoting positive messages and money. So stay tuned for that. GK. I'm not sure what that is. GK. John D. Oh, John. Okay, John Dickey. Okay, all right. My apologies. Miss Jones, how are you? How are you? How are you? And my son asked, how's Kamari? Okay, well, tell him I said fine. And tell him I said hello, hello, hello. But all right, y'all, listen. Again, we are going to talk about Black Lives Matter. A lot of stuff going on. I'm sure y'all have heard about the $90 million that they have raised, but you probably also heard a lot about some of the shenanigans that went on with the raising. So I'm going to go through, look at some of the articles, and then we're also going to dive into the tax return as well. It's really, really interesting. All right, so I am going to share the screen with you all with 1 second, un momento, as we get this up and going. All right, so this is the New York Post. They're not my favorite, aka journalistic organization or alleged organization, but they come through sometimes. So let's check this out. I'm going to leave it on silent so I don't get a copyright strike, because YouTube loves to smack me around with that. But here's talking about Black Lives Matter. Co-founder Patrisse Cullors has admitted, went too fast for me. Basically has admitted buying a $6 million LA mansion. Right? We saw that come out a while ago. That's what really sparked this, despite previously suggesting she never used the property for personal gain. Right? Now, let's see if I can play this clip without getting in trouble. I don't want no smoke. And actually, I don't know if I'm a little out of practice, y'all. I don't know if I gave the proper permissions. So let's bring this back on so I don't get dinged, so you all can hear what's going on. Yep, got it shared. There we go. All right, so everybody should be able to hear it. All right, so Cullors told the AP on Monday that she hosted celebrations for her son's birthday, as well as President Biden's inauguration last year. Okay. BLM faced a torrent of criticism last month when it emerged that the group secretly purchased the LA mansion with donation funds back in 2020. Cullors maintains that the mansion was purchased to be a safe space for Black people in the community. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. All right, so that's from the Post, right? So yes, Black folks do need safe spaces. That's clear. We see that in Buffalo, sadly. But I don't want to go too far into that, because that might get me choked up, and I don't want to go down that route. But it's interesting to use this money, bought a mansion, $6 million on 2020. A lot of these organizations, a lot of the Black Lives Matters companies, right, or profit or businesses across the span, because there's many of them, right? They started getting money and due to George Floyd. And so, as we see, it came to the tune of over $90 million. $90 million. It's a lot of bread, y'all. It's a lot of bread. But the question that many are asking, well, why would you go and use part of that 90 million to buy yourself a mansion, 6 million to the tune of $6 million? Now, full disclosure, before all that stuff came out, I was supporting Miss Calores. I was like, all right, well, she made some money because she wrote a book. She did some other things. She was able to do it. But then more receipts came. And so I had to publicly state that I was wrong. Right? I was wrong. And again, this is not to slander anyone, right? Just want to put the story out there and want to have full context of what's going on in the situation. So here again, New York Times. Now I like the New York Times, right? They do good journalistic work. So after raising 90 million in 2020, Black Lives Matter has 42 million in assets. All right, about 32 million of those are in stock. So they did invest some of this money. I do think that's a good thing. Now, again, for the record, there was some good, there was some bad, and there were some questionable things, in my opinion, right? But again, this is not a takedown, so to speak. This is more of a canary in a coal mine saying, listen, if we are really going to be serious about doing good works in our community, we have to take the money seriously, and we have to be good stewards of our funds. All right. We can't just be casual and kind of cavalier with the money. No, can't do that. And just again, full disclosure, I've worked with several nonprofits. I'm on one nonprofit board right now. I am always the money guy, right? And guess what that makes me? That makes me the guy who always has to be the quote unquote, I don't know if I can say this, but I'll say the asshole, right? Because I'm the guy who has to say no. I'm the guy who has to say, hey, that's not the right way to do it. And over the years, it has put me in a lot of precarious positions. I've lost some really, really dear friends over it. Some of it was probably my fault. I probably could have handled it better because as you learn when you deal with people, politics comes into play. And I'm not really a political guy in that way, right? These are the facts. These are your options. Are we going to pick option A, B, or C? Which one is best for the organization? What happens a lot of times in these organizations is not what's best for the organization. It's what relationship are we going to hurt? Whose feelings are we going to hurt? Right? This lady used to babysit me. I used to date this lady's daughter. I date this lady's daughter. I am married to this lady's son, right? You get all these relationships and nobody is focused on the overall mission, goal, and vision of the organization. And that's what it's supposed to be about. And all your decision making is supposed to be filtered by, the goal, mission, and vision instead of relationships. And listen, I'm not saying we should just hurt people's feelings, right? But sometimes, just like anything else, if you're trying to do the right thing, you got to make the right decisions. Oftentimes. So, just for the record, you gotta put that out there. And the other part that has to be done, in my opinion, you have to have trainings. Now that'll be part of the story as well. As we go into it, you need to have trainings because people need to understand what their roles and responsibilities are when you are one working with a nonprofit to being on the board of the nonprofit. Because oftentimes you can get in deep doo-doo if you don't have the right protections on the board. And you're there trying to do a good thing. You're trying to help the community. But sadly, there are people that might not be so, what's the word I'm looking for here? Stringent about some of the rules and policies when doing that. And I'm looking at my back in here. I got stuff all over the place. So, I bring all that to bear because, again, I don't want this to be perceived as a takedown of BLM. That is not my aim, not my goal, not what I'm here to do. That is not the assignment for today, folks. Not the assignment for today. All right, so let's keep going. with this article, right? So after raising $90 million in 2020, Black Lives Matter has $42 million in asset. The organization offered the first official accounting of its finances recently, disclosing a filing to the IRS. And for those of you who don't know what the IRS is the Internal Revenue Service, okay? The chief tax administrator in the United States. So this article was by Nicholas Coolish, right? He writes that in the tragic whirlwind year of 2020, with racial justice protests prompted by the killing of Black men and women by police officers, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation raised $90 million. Now, make a note. Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Make a note of that. That's important. Again, make a note of that. All right. Much of it in small donations from rank and file supporters. A recent tax filings from the group showing that by the middle of last year, more than half of that money had been granted to smaller organizations or spent on consultants and real estate, leaving the foundation with $42 million in assets. So they've given some money out to other groups that is documented on the tax return. They've spent some money on some real estate. They've spent money on consultants. Some of them, I don't know. But back to the article. The foundation's finances have been subjected to criticism both from participants in the Black Lives Matter movement, from their opponents. Many local groups that are part of the movement have called for the transparency and a greater role in making decisions, as well as more money for the organizations led by the activists on the ground. So put a pin in it right there, because I want to talk about that. Sadly, we know the conditions we're living in. We know that Black people get treated like second-class citizens or chattel properties still to this day in the United States, right? So every time when we have these kerfuffles, right, it gives the opposition an opportunity to besmirch the name of these good organizations that have great intentions. But we all know great intentions are not enough. It's not enough. We need good organization. We need good finances. We need good operations. All right. So when they talk about transparency, it's a great practice to just start everything out and open. Don't hide nothing. Now, when I say don't hide nothing, I'm not saying you have to disclose your locations for things, but when it comes to the money, don't hide anything. If it's one red cent, you have to know where it's at. And I say this again from experience. A lot of times in these organizations, people don't realize that nonprofit organizations don't have ownership. No one really owns them. They are for the good. The reason why nonprofits don't pay taxes, income taxes, that is because they are there to help make a better environment for the citizens of the United States. And so they get a tax break for doing that quote unquote work. And I'm sure many of you in the audience know that there are a lot of people who actually do work, right? I know the church, especially the Black church, gets a lot of pushback, a lot of flack, but it's documented. They've done good work, right? Every pastor doesn't have a pink Cadillac and a $10 million ranch and mansion with gold faucets. That's not the coup. Most pastors actually work a job and work for the quote unquote kingdom to try to make a better community for everybody, right? That's just the reality of it. But again, when we are doing this kind of work and we talking about Black folks, you have to show them every red nickel and dime, because the ascension comes up so easily in our communities that it becomes real easy for people to take up arms on your cause and say, hey, what are they doing with the funds? Y'all know these conversations. And sadly, in this instance, some of them were true. Sadly, some of them were true. But again, that's why it's so important that folks, let me take these off. Folks actually be very, very transparent with their funds and know that it's not their money personally. It's the members' money. If you have a membership, a led nonprofit, or if you you just have a nonprofit that has a purpose, right? That is for some kind of benefit. But it's not the executive director's money, it's not the board's money, it's not even the members' money, but the money is supposed to be there used for the betterment of whatever the mission is of the organization. I hope that's clear, right? People need to be more clear about that, um, because folks kind of get like, I built this is mine, I took care of everything up in this piece, I built this brick by brick, right? But it's not yours. So you have to be a good steward of those funds. You have to make sure where these monies are being, because again, Black folks have a history of being abused and being oppressed, a lot of times by quote unquote trusted folks, right? And it hurts the overall movement for Black folks in general, and actually not just Black folks, right? But any charitable space where you're trying to do some good work. So keep that in mind, keep your ego in check. But let's get back to the article. And I see there's some comments that's starting to roll in, so we're definitely going to get to those. Do me a favor, if you have a question, put a Q in front of the question so I can grab it quickly. All right. So, all right, here. Is everybody able to see this? Let me blow that up just a little bit. All right, just to make sure everybody can see it. All right. So in that track, I read that already. All right, here's where I was. More local groups that are part of the movement have called for more transparency and a greater role in making decisions, as well as more money for the organizations led by activists on the ground. At the same time, opponents of Black Lives Matter have tried to portray spending by one of the group's founders as evidence of widespread mismanagement in a manner that appears intended to impugn the cause of racial justice as well as the group. So, I mean, here's a great example of how that happens, and it happens fast. It happens real fast. I mean, they say word of mouth is the best form of marketing, right? Word of mouth is also the worst form of marketing, the worst form of PR, because it spreads like wildfire. It goes really, really fast. All right, so no one expected the foundation to grow at this pace and to this scale. Cicely Gay, chair of the board of directors, said in its statement on Tuesday. Now, we are taking time to build efficient infrastructure to run the largest Black abolitionist philanthropic organization to ever exist in the United States. Ms. Gay was one of the 3 new board members that the group announced last month. In an interview on Tuesday, Shaloma, I hope I'm not saying her name wrong, Bowers, another new member on the board, said the picture painted by the document shows an organization retooling for the long haul. So, just to be clear, right? Let's just to be clear, this is also they're trying to I don't want to say backtrack, right? But they're trying to say that, hey, we're under new management. We done put some windows up, we done put some paint up, and we're open for business. So this is basically to let everybody know, hey, we're not doing this no more. We're trying to go forward. They're trying to disassociate themselves from what happened in the past so they can move forward in the future. All right, and that's, I think somebody said, right, here we go. All right, so the credit solution that says she's the fall guy, someone is hiding their hands right now at the throwing them. But I get what you're saying. They are definitely, I don't want to say throwing her under the bus, but they're definitely saying we don't want to be in league with Miss Calores anymore. That ain't it. That's not what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to go forward, and we're trying to help Black folks. Question though, boards should be strong, meaning that if you just have a board that's full of yes men and yes women, that's not really a board. And a lot of times that's what happens in nonprofits. Because again, it's volunteer work. So you got to ask your homegirl, your homeboy, hey, do me a favor, will you get on this board with me? Every board, right? Anytime you're serving on a board members should take it seriously. Your assets are potentially exposed. Here's a gem. that I try to push for on all the boards that I'm involved on. And I'm only involved in one, and I'm being courted by another one, but I'm fighting them off because nonprofit work is very taxing work. While I love the community, sometimes we have to learn from our ancestors that folks will leave you broke and leave your family unattended to. So you must always attend to your family first and foremost. And I say that to say, make sure you have board and D&O. Make sure you have D&O insurance, directors and officers insurance. Again, directors and officers insurance. If you're on any board, if they cannot provide this, if the organization does not have the means to buy that, y'all need to either pitch in and buy it and or don't be involved, because a lot of times people underestimate the power of insurance and the protection of insurance, right? But you never know until you know, and that's usually when you actually need it. And when you had an event somewhere and somebody sees all these people and there's a red carpet and there's a little wrinkle on it, and they just say, oh, I've fallen and I hurt my back and I can't get up. And that happens. Sadly, we're in a litigious society. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to go off tracks too much, but again, I want this to be instructive in the ways. I don't want it to be a tear down job. That's not my aim here. That's not my goal. All right. So as a new board, we're building policies that didn't exist, operational and administrative infrastructure that didn't exist. We're making it clear to Black people that we are an institution and that we're here to stay, said Mrs. Bowers. In order to do that, we need to demonstrate that our financial house is in order. Amen to that. I agree with that. You must make sure the financial house is in order. And again, as I said at the top, right, as I said at the top of this broadcast, a lot of times, right, I'm a money guy, but I'm also a community guy. One of the things that's also, right, drives me crazy when I talk to the Pan-Africanist community, the Black nationalist community, the super, I'm a nigga just trying to get by community, is that nobody really understands why you need to be educated about your money and make your money a tool for you and not necessarily be materialistic in it and or shun it away, right? The way we depict capitalism is totally wrong, and it is a hindrance for us. And we need to get over that. We need to get over that. But again, we have to know that we need to use money to operate for our benefit, not necessarily to be brainwashed by corporations and other people that are quote unquote oppressors. Again, if you think about this, right, anybody that has ever had a successful movement had a way to fund it, right? I don't care what government it was, what people it was. If you ain't got money, you ain't got no revolution. If you ain't got money, it's hard to get any food. If you ain't got money, how do you get supplies? Okay, so just keep that in mind as we go through all this. Now, during the fiscal year covered by the tax form, the only voting board member was Patrice Kalors. Let's read that again. We just talked about this. During the fiscal year covered by the tax form, the only voting board member was Patrice Kalors, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. While such a structure is legal in Delaware, where the group is incorporated, charity experts say it's far from the best practice, especially for a group with tens of millions of dollars in its coffers. All right. Well, I just went over that. No need to keep beating a dead horse. Imagine if you have the equivalent of a cruise ship with no one at the helm. You have a massive organization, massive amounts of money, no structure, no accountability, no staff. They should have an accountant on staff, ASAP. All right, but back to the article. No staff, said Ashley Yates, a St. Louis-born activist who was involved with Black Lives Matter nationally in its early years, but has since spoken critically about lack of transparency within the group, who even makes the decision on who writes the checks, right? Who writes the checks? That's a big decision. That's a big decision. By the way, if any of you are the person that's writing the check, shouldn't be the person that's doing the books. Why is that? Because they can easily create ways that they can funnel money out of the organization into their hands or somebody else's hands, but not to the hands of the organization. So keep that in mind. The person that's doing the books shouldn't always be the person that's writing the checks. Okay. All right, Ms. Calores, who stepped down as executive director in May 2021, said in an interview last week with the Associated Press that within the group, they often refer to the experience of the past few years as building the plane while flying it, which is dangerous. The only regret I had with BLM is wishing that we could have paused for 1 or 2 years to just not do any work and just focus on the infrastructure, she said in the interview. Much of the outside critical attention on the group focused on her involvement. Now, I want to pause there for a minute. She's right. But a lot of times we get caught up in just movement and we think that's productive. Sometimes it makes sense just to pause, just to take a breath, just to take stock of everything that's going on. That's every organization, and actually that's every person. Sometimes we just get caught up in doing. But we never assess in all that doing, are we moving closer to our goal? We never assess any of that. Again, because we're just busy doing. One of the things I'm really big on and I always kind of preach to my son about, because he's a new business owner, I say to him, think about where you want to go, take a breath, and just stop. Do some research, look at something else, but don't just stay on a hamster wheel doing the same thing, expecting the same exact results. It doesn't work like that, right? That's just life. That's just life. All right. So don't be afraid to stop. Pause, rather, right? Not a stop, but a pause. Last month, New York Magazine reported that funds raised by the foundation were used to buy a house in California for nearly $6 million in cash in October 2020. The tax filing shows properties worth $5.9 million held by a Delaware company. We'll talk about that too. The house was to be used, among other things, as an artist retreat. The filing said, but identifying information is not being released here due to safety and security concerns and threats to BLM, G, and F leadership, staff, and creators. Crazy thing is she's been doxxed already, and they released a lot of that information, sadly. Now, I don't think anybody should be doxxed. There's too many crazy people, as seen in Buffalo, and the killing in the church in South Carolina a couple years ago. Folks really are crazy when folks are just trying to fight for justice. But it seems like many of the powers that be aren't concerned about justice as it relates to Black folks. All right. The tax return indicated that Ms. Calores received no compensation during the fiscal year. That's tricky. All right. All right, so during the fiscal year, instead served as an unpaid volunteer. A family member, Paul Calores, was listed on the tax form as receiving payments for professional security services amounting to $840,000, $840,993 to be exact. That's a lot of bread. That's a lot of money. But according to tax filings, Ms. Calores also paid the organization back for charter travel, saying that she voluntarily reimbursed subsequent to year end. She also repaid the nonprofit for personal use of its real estate, which appeared to refer to a birthday party for her son at the $6 million home. I think they are doing what a lawyer in this situation would advise them to do. Okay, again, I think they are doing what a lawyer in this situation would advise them to do, which is be as open as possible can be and be as accurate as possible. So I want to push back on that. A lawyer might do that, but usually that's a PR person. A PR person a lot of times is going to tell you how to spin a situation to make it more palatable for your audience and the overall PR community to deal with it. So again, I mean, lawyers do serve that role too. Lawyers do serve that role too, but that's the Olivia Pope types, right? So all right, so I think they're doing what a lawyer in a situation would advise them to do, which is be as open as you possibly can be and be as accurate as you possibly can be, said Lloyd Atoshi Meyer, a law professor at the University of Notre Dame, which specializes in nonprofits. They're trying to be transparent. They're trying to right the ship. I think I used that word earlier. There's still work to do, okay? And I think clients are calling me. All right, so the release of tax filings, Internal Revenue Service Form 990 for the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation was the first time the group offered an official accounting of its finances. It is also a delayed snapshot. The form covers the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2021, nearly a year ago. In 2021, the foundation released its own report, not a mandatory federal tax filing, but a voluntary accounting of its funds, in which it said it raised $90 million in 2020, with the average donation being $30.64. Now, I want to talk about this too, real quick. There's a saying, small hinges swing big doors. Again, small hinges swing big doors. We saw this in the Obama campaign as well. Small money got that man elected. Big money came in too, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times we snub our nose at small money and we think it's not necessary, but the small money is what will help put gas in the car. Small money is what will help pay for certain meals and things like that. Small money is things that will help line you up to get the big money. And they did that there. All right, they did that there. So keep that in mind. A lot of times I express to some of the nonprofits that I work with to figure out different ways to develop your own kind of funding source, your own revenue model. I saw a lot of them to use merch. So this is Black Men's Hill shirt again. I tell them to use merch now. They were already doing merch before I got involved with them, but a lot of them don't like it either. They're strictly focused on the mission. Can't do that. Somebody's got to focus on getting the money too. Somebody's got to focus on getting the money. Why? Because you need the money to fulfill the mission. All right, so going forward, right here, with the average donation being $30.64 at that time, the group said it spent $8.4 million on operating expenses while dispersing $21.7 million in grants to about 30 organizations and to 11 Black Lives Matter chapters around the country. Some of those are interesting too, but I think that is good work, right? I do think that is a positive that they actually gave money to other organizations that are on the ground and running. So they kind of fulfilled that part, right? It's not all bad. It's not all bad. All right. So on the tax form, the foundation said that for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021, it received contributions and grants totaling $76.9 million. $76.9 million is a big difference from $90 million, but that's something else. All right. With total expenditures of $37.7 million, those expenditures included grants of $50,000 each to Black Lives Matter chapters in Boston, Philadelphia, born and raised right here, Detroit, and elsewhere. Jacob Harold, a nonprofit expert, said he was struck in particular by the number of paid employees listed on the floor, which was just 2, versus the number of volunteers, which was 49,275. Again, 49,275. That ratio pretty much tells the story right there. Mr. Harold said 2 paid staff members would rarely be enough to manage a $90 million organization. The 990 tells a story of weak nonprofit governance, he said. Well, we kind of already see it, right? One person making the decisions, having the vote, that's always a bad thing in my opinion. All right, so Justin Hansford, a professor at Howard University School of Law, said the stakes were high because the public could not always differentiate between Black Lives Matter movement and one specific organization. That's very true. People are still very, very confused about Black Lives Matter. It's extremely important to have transparency and good governance at any organization with this level of global fame, said Mr. Hansford, which is also the executive director of the Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center. The credibility of the entire movement is at stake based on these choices for better or for worse. But he added, they deserve a little grace here. I agree. As protesters suddenly given a windfall of money, they had to learn how to manage a large nonprofit on the fly. And it's a lot to ask. All right. That is a fact. It is a fact. So my apologies for reading the whole thing to y'all, but I wanted y'all to get, some context, some real context here, and not just see it's me here running my big blabby mouth. All right. Wanted to give some context. And so before I get into the next thing, oh man, y'all been getting busy in these comments. All right, I'm going to come back. Give me a second. So if y'all have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Now, I want to show y'all something, and I'm going to share kind of a real story here. I had a client who was giving some money to an organization they felt was a great organization. They thought it was a great nonprofit organization. And he was giving them a lot of money, 5 figures. He reached out to me. He said, Kamari, can you look at the books? I said, sure. This is my guy. I said, sure. And so we started talking about some of the things. And I can kind of tell when something is right and when something is wrong, or at least a little fishy. And I definitely got that something was a little fishy. My rebel sense was going off. And so I kind of told him how to proceed about certain things. But I didn't also want to trash the person because, again, their relationships, and I don't know all the particulars. But what I found out is that he's breaking off from the guy because the guy, the operator, didn't produce any books, right? Again, red flag. Got to be transparent, especially when people are giving your organization money, all right? The other thing was they didn't have certain things set up in the way that they should have, okay? And so that again is a red flag. And I know, again, a lot of people mean really, really well, and they want to help and they want to do some things. But by seeing an organization that's taking the time to file their respective documents with the state, with the IRS, it shows a certain level of seriousness, right? And we all work hard for our money. So if a person or persons can't take that step to do the serious work, they shouldn't deserve your seriously hard-earned money, right? You just keep that in mind. But at the end of the day, my friend, my client was able to, get something out of it. They were a nonprofit, but again, things aren't run right. Why? They're not taking it serious, right? They don't have good governance. They don't have good accounting. And all of those things are important. You're going to hear me saying those things over and over and over again. All right. Over and over and over again. And so I want to show y'all something else. How crazy this all is when we talk about this here. Now, one of the things I want you to be able to do, what I left out when telling my client about this is, right, research these nonprofits, right? So I'm going to go to the IRS site. We want to go to the main page, right? On the main page of the IRS site, there's a tab here for charities and nonprofits. Any real charity, any real nonprofit will be listed with the IRS. So you click that button there, and then you can do a search. Okay. So tax exempt organization search. Click that button. Tax exempt organization search tool, right? We're going to search for organizations, so search there. So this is going to search the whole database. Now you can search by employer identification number, also known as EIN. There's some other things like city and state, but I'm going to change this. You can also search by organization. And as you see there, Black Lives Matter comes in because I've been searching it, and I can pull up their organization. Now, if you look, and I'm going to blow this up because I don't know if everybody can see it. When you search Black Lives Matter on the IRS website, again, every nonprofit should be listed there. And when you are doing your due diligence, again, this is really important, y'all. When you're doing your due diligence, researching to see how well a nonprofit is run, one of your first stops should be irs.gov. Hit, charities and nonprofits, do the search, put the name in, or if you have the EIN number, put that in and just search it. Now, again, for Black Lives Matter, when I search that, look at how many come up. You got a Black Lives Matter in Charleston, South Carolina. You got a Black Lives Matter moving forward in Hollywood, Florida. You got a Black Lives Matter 5280. You got a Black Lives Matter 804. You got a Black Lives Matter in yours, right? In Harrisburg. Some of these are local chapters. Some of these are people who were just trying to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, just going through this, Black Lives Matter Foundation. So there's a Black Lives Matter Foundation, right? It doesn't have ink on it. So paying attention to detail matters in these situations. So this one is in Santa Clarita. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And you can go in and you can look at the tax return, their last filed tax return. And so there was another one. So I thought this was the original one, but this is run by a Robert Ray Barnes, allegedly. And it says Black Lives Matter Foundation. Now there's another Black Lives Matter out of LA. And just bear with me a minute, y'all. Just bear with me for a minute. And actually, while I'm looking, because I want you to all to see this. I think this is important. So, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Let's see, Black Lives Matter. I'm looking for Black Lives Matter LA. Now, this is the Black Lives Matter, this one here, Black Lives Matter Foundation, Oakland. That is the one that's in question right now. But I am looking for Black Lives Matter LA. And actually, let me do this. This might make it a little faster. By the way, shout out to Jerry from Los Angeles. So he'll help me spell. By the way, y'all, I am not a great speller. Just for the record. Los Angeles. No. So, there was one here I saw. There was one here I saw. No, this is a 990 yen. This isn't it. This isn't it. All right. There was another one I saw, but I can't find it right now. I would have to go back in, and I don't want to waste everybody's time. I know everybody's time is precious. Give me 1 second. Un momento. Actually, I won't bore you all. So here, I'm going to just look for this real quick. I want to go back because I want you all to see this, right? I want you all to know where to go. Do it with confidence when researching organizations that are asking for your contributions, that are asking for your hard-earned dollars. It's important. There's too many scammers out here, and I'm not calling BLM scammers. I'm talking about in the community, right, in general, that are saying they want one thing and they are not living up to it. They are not living up to it. And so here we go. Black Lives Matter. Right. So remember I said to keep this in mind. Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, Inc. All right. And this return was filed in 2019. Now, I want to show y'all something because there's something really, really interesting that I want you to all see. So, but give me a minute. This is a 990 EZ. It's basically blank, right? Everything's blank. It's all zeroed out. Here's the rule. If you work with nonprofits, if you are an accountant that does nonprofit work, this return could have been done as what's called a 990N, right? A 990N, and it takes 5 minutes. And if you've made less than $50,000 in revenue and have $50,000 in assets, all you have to do is an electronic filing. It takes 5 minutes. Now, for some of the organizations, right, because I do try to give back to the community by way of my talent. Sometimes when I can't give my money, I will do their 990 and I won't charge them anything. Right, but I want y'all to look at this here, right? Again, attention to detail, folks. Attention to detail. Crispin Bowers, Deputy Executive. K. Valin CPA. Rubino and Company Chartered. Keep that name down. Take a note of that name. K. Valin CPA, Rubino and Company Chartered. They're out of Bethesda, Maryland. All right, they're out of Bethesda, Maryland. But this return is basically blank. All right, basically blank. Now again, keep that name top of mind. I want to show you something. Now I downloaded the actual 990 also for 2020. And I have that as a PDF document. All right, so here, this is where all the money is, right? $79,664,828 million. That's what their gross receipts were. That's what they brought in. All right, now I'm going to come through and I'm going to break this down. I'm not going to go line for line because I don't think y'all want line for line. If y'all want line for line, put it in the chat, and I'll do my best. But I hate 990s. I don't actually do them anymore. Well, I have one that I still do, but they're very, very tedious. And so I'm actually not doing any more of them anymore. I will advise a corporation, not a corporation, a nonprofit. Well, by the way, most corporations are supposed to start off as most nonprofits are supposed to start off as corporations. But again, they are very, very tedious. But I want to show you this real quick. K. Valin, CPA, Rubino and Company Chartered. Now this is BLM. This is Black Lives Matter, right? Let's look at something else. Rubino and Companies, right? Rubino and Companies. Where's that name at? Let's get that name. VOLLANS. VO. Now, let's look at the screen now. So again, this is not to disparage anyone. This is not to talk about anyone, but this one, I don't get. But I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. So professional accounting services, powerful results. Meet the Rubino team. Not a whole lot of color here. We got one brother with some color. Okay. All right. I don't know. Can y'all see it? Let me blow it up. Now, I see some of my tax brothers and sisters in the room. Kay Valens, CPA, senior manager. This is Black Lives Matters, right? This is for the fight for equality. This is for the fight for justice. This is for the fight to help elevate Black people. So before I get to this real quick. All right, so Josh Ann, that's not her real name, but that's my homegirl from Philly right there. She's one of my tax sisters, right? Latoya Owens is one of my tax sisters. These are people with integrity. They will check me right here if I say something wrong. So I just want to put this right. Tamlin Bones is another one. Oh, Nisa's here. I think Nisa specializes in nonprofits. She should be on with me. But if Nisa's here, shout out to Nisa too. Another one of my tax sisters, right? So we got tax professionals, Black tax professionals in the building. For the life of me, I don't understand why BLM has a non-Black, and for the record, my definition of Black is not just Black folks born in America, right? BLM said they were here to help the diaspora, or the diaspora, however way you pronounce it. All right, we can go to, all right, so here, Lisa's here. She's here, right? Another one of my tax sisters, right? Thorough people, all credible, all great character, all great professionals. You cannot tell me that there's no Black tax people, no Black accountants that could have done their tax return. There was 2 years. Uno, dos. 2 years that they had this lady on. Now, the reason why I brought up the 990N for the first year of 2019 was I bet they probably charged them for that return. And I get it. Wait, some of my folks even tried to do the 990Ns, right? This isn't a judgment on your practices. To me, this is a conversation about, are we really serious about Black elevation if we are not intentional about spending money with Black businesses? And you are firm name Black Lives Matter, and you are not spending your money with Black professionals. Now listen, we are not in all spaces, but we are definitely in an accounting space. I am in a group of a lot of Black tax accountants. In LA and Cali, there's a bunch of them. In just about every state in this country, there are Black tax professionals. There are Black accountants. There are Black lawyers. You can't tell me that they couldn't find somebody to do their taxes. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Do y'all think that's an overreach? Maybe I'm taking it personal because I am a Black tax pro, right? But I think that's ironic. I think that's kind of crazy. But y'all let me know. Tell me in the chat if you would have assumed or thought that BLM had a Black tax pro. Not trying, like, so again, y'all see it on my channel, my YouTube channel, and everywhere else. I talk about the importance of spending money with Black folks. And again, there's a lot of nonprofits. So if any of you are involved in nonprofits, you should ask them, what is their Buy Black policy? because I can tell you just from my experience alone, a lot of nonprofits do not think consciously about who they are spending their money with. And these are supposedly organizations, and I'm speaking to Black folks, right? This is a family conversation right now. So these are organizations that are supposedly for Black communities, but we're not being intentional about keeping our dollar in our community. Now, for the record, this lady could be an ally. She could be an ally. I don't know. But if she was an ally, I would think that she would say, no, let me advise. Let's make sure we get a Black accountant firm in here. Again, like I said, I don't want this to be a takedown. I want this to be learning lessons, right? Because listen, BLM has done a lot of good work. They have. They've challenged a lot of things. They got a lot of laws written on the books. And I do feel that a lot of folks gave them flack and talked about their issues and how they're okay with gays and the people who are lesbians and yada, yada, yada. But if we really want to have a real conversation, Black gays have always ruled for Black people in general. I hope I didn't hurt nobody's feelings, but just keeping it real, keeping it funky. And I think sometimes we put obstacles in the way that shouldn't be there. If you got Black folks, regardless of their sexual orientation, it shouldn't matter. Let me back up. Let me be clear. If you have Black folks, regardless of the sexual orientation, that are doing good work for the community, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Now, I'm not going to go on and saying that, Black folks is okay with people being gay if they're the choir director. I ain't going to go there. But I think we have to start having deeper conversations about sexuality, money, just everything at this point. So let's see. All right. Before I get into, because this is getting crazy right now. So before I get into the tax return any deeper, just want to say thanks, John, for the super chat. Appreciate you. All the money helps to fund the channel, make the channel better. Just got some new equipment. I'm about to roll it out. I've been testing it out, so y'all be seeing that soon. So that was part of, kind of my sabbatical, my self-imposed sabbatical, was, tool down and refocus. All right. So Drake Harden says, a race-focused Marxist communist pocketing millions and buying assets is an oxymoron. I saw it by day 2. I feel you, Dre. I feel you. I will say this. I think the Marxist communist role, the label that was thrown on them, was a little harsh. And I do believe the right wing used that to make them appear to be the bad guy, right? Because if you are a Marxist or a communist in this country, you are automatically perceived as a bad guy. So we got to watch out for labels. But, again, thank you, Drake, for the $5 super chat. And there is a lot of truth in this statement. All right. I saw there was a couple. All right, my man, Jerry. Jerry always comes through. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry from LA, from Los Angeles, with the $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. All right, let's jump into some of these comments real quick before we get into the tax return. Again, if you are just watching, don't know me from a can of paint, my name is Kamari Ellis, the Finance Rebel. We do the Finance Rebel show. I like to talk about all facets of money, stock, business, taxes especially, right? And especially Black wealth, because it all matters, right? So my channel is a channel that's more for looking at money and how we can use money holistically to better ourselves, our family, and our community, not just buy foreigns and be super uber materialistic, consumeristic type people. So if you like that kind of thing, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and share this out with someone who needs to know about nonprofits and Black movements and how they should run. Let me take a sip of water real quick. All righty. So let's jump into Some of these comments. All right, so Northern Bell gave me the flame emojis. All right, hello. All right, yep, got you already, John. Thank you. All right, we got to these already. Like the t-shirt, I like it too. I was a little uncomfortable wearing it. He wanted talking about being sexy. That seems a little kind of weird. A little too old for that. I'm a dad and a granddad. Can't be out here talking about I'm sexy. Thank you, Northern Bell. Oh, there you are, Lisa. I'm sorry. I don't think I saw you before, but welcome. Hey, I think that's how I say hey, yay. I think I might lose my black card for not being able to say this name, but it's all good. I thought she was on the up and up as well. Yeah, I did. I mean, and I still think that there was some good virtues and still are some good virtues to BLM if we are being objective. All right, so got to get a good CPA when you're handling a lot of money, seems like. So I'm not a CPA, I'm an EA, I'm an enrolled agent. Just for the record, CPAs, certified public accountants, are the king and queens of accounting, which include tax, but not all CPAs do tax. A lot of them don't do tax, right? Enrolled agents, however, are the kings and queens of taxes because we have the highest federally certified designation from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Just wanted to put that out there. Jose's in the building. What's up, Jose? All right, the credit solution says it seems like Patrice may have been influenced by her counterparts. LA has a lot of people with influence that were invisible in the BLM movement. Maybe. All right, y'all talking amongst yourselves. This purchase of this elaborate home does not seem productive or necessary. Well, if we go with the guys that it was for a safe space, because it supposedly was a safe space for Black artists with a message, to keep the message movement, I could go with that. But there's a lot of other things that kind of went along with it that was maybe, and again, 6 million I do think is a bit egregious, right? It's really hard to get out of high-priced real estate in LA. They could have gone somewhere else. They could have gone to Mississippi or to Georgia or, somewhere else where that 6 million probably could have had an impact on a Black community somewhere. And not to say that it didn't, but it was a mansion, so it wasn't like in Compton or Watts or something like that. They said it was a mansion in the hills. They could have brought, some farmland somewhere and helped take care of Black farmers. And listen, I'm not trying to put my opinions on folks. I'm just saying they had options. And a lot of times organizations get caught up in just doing a thing to do a thing, but not thinking about how the thing is going to play out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps down the line, and not just play out, but who is it going to impact, right? We got to be thinking about who is it going to impact. All right, so the credit solution, y'all talking. All right, the credit solution that says it seems like she was guided to do this. I don't think she came up with this scheme on her own. Maybe. But there were some other things going on there too. We're going to get into that when we get into the tax return. All right. She's the fall guy. We talked about earlier. She's hiding hands right now after throwing a rock. Maybe. I think she got bad tax advice because why did she buy a house with millions of dollars? That might not necessarily be bad tax advice. It could just be bad financial advice. And sometimes it makes sense to buy cash, right? You can close faster and you can close quieter. You can be have a little bit more anonymity when you move with cash, right? I tell people all the time, cash is king, always will be king. I know everybody is in love with credit right now. No shade to you, the credit specialist. Credit's important, but you always are going to need some cash to pay for the credit, right? I see folks all the time talking about getting business credit, but they ain't got no business, right? They ain't got no product, they ain't got no service. They don't know what they're doing. They're just saying, get the credit just for the sake of getting the credit, and that just doesn't usually work, in my experience. All right, so the credit solution says exactly. Someone had to have told her how to do this. It's not a coincidence. She was no longer with BLM. Yeah, I work for a global nonprofit that puts their officers in big California homes. These employees don't own these homes. They're seen as havens. I guess it depends on the organizations as well. Facts. I mean, when you look at some of the biggest nonprofits, the Red Cross, the United Way, and many others. I mean, just look at the church. Look at the Archdiocese of America. A lot of money there. I want to say, last time I looked, I know in Philadelphia at one point the Archdiocese was the largest property owner. I think there was a stat somewhere, there was a data point somewhere that said the Archdiocese was the largest property owner in America too. Don't count that as gospel. I had to fact check that, but I believe that's in there. But that tells you the power of nonprofits and how you can do a thing when you do it right. And not to overlook that, we have the complexion for non-protection. Again, we have the complexion for non-protection. The United Way and Red Cross had the complexion for protection. So there's a lot with that too. All right, BLM is too high profile that they had to separate her if she's making bad decisions. Yeah, but this did not just start, and there's going to be a part to it. As I'm looking to bring on somebody with me on Sunday to talk about this, a reporter who's covered a lot of BLM, and there are other factions of BLM that might not have the name of BLM. They got a lot of money and had a lot of misappropriations as well. But y'all stay tuned for that. All right, at this point, her departing won't fix the injury. No, it won't. It won't fix the injury. It's like a Band-Aid on a wound, no. But it is a black eye. It's definitely a black eye for people who are really trying to organize, for people who are really trying to institute change in the community, who are trying to do some things. All right, Stacey Long says, oh, she received money. All right. What's up, Stacey? How you doing? 6 million in California might be too bad, but I don't know, seems too high. Yeah. Being from California, I understand your point, yo. She could get a compound in the high. Yeah, okay, so the credit solution, this is on my timeline. She could have gone somewhere else, right? She could have been a little bit more incognito. Kagoma, how you doing? What is the deadline to file their taxes? So I don't know. I was trying to see when they filed. Normally the deadline for filing nonprofits is at the end of the company's fiscal and or calendar year, 5 months and 15 days. So if a company has a calendar year, they run their business January to December. Usually they have 5 months from December 31st, right? Which is May, and then 15 days. So it was typically May 15th. But I couldn't see where the actual filing was. It might be on the determination letter. I had to go back and look. All right. Yeah, see, they started out in Seattle, so why choose the most expensive state on the coast to settle in? I don't know. Jerry. The founders admitted that they created local chapters in larger cities. Yeah, they did. All right, Latoya's here. Foundation. Yes, I found it. Yep. Integrity. I do feel integrity is lost in this world. Latoya, preaching to the choir. Yeah, it is a shame. Absolute shame. Gotcha. I would agree. It is ridiculous. It is. There's a lot of them. Matter of fact, I got a homegirl in Philly. All she does is 990s. All she does is nonprofit work. And matter of fact, she works with major organizations. So yeah, they not far at all. All right. So the credit solution, this is agreeing with me in terms of finding a good black accountant. Hey, Robbie, how you doing? Unfortunately, I had conversations with black organizations that prefer non-POC preparers. Crazy. Now, that's a whole other conversation, but that is really a thing. Sadly, Willie Lynch did a great job lynching our minds. Got us thinking that we are not competent, that we can't do anything. Miss Elegant, hey lady, how you doing? Miss Edith is in the building. Yeah, I try to make it a little entertaining, right? Precious Nails EDU, how are you? Welcome, 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 and thank you for the 100s. Appreciate that. Yes, and accountants, absolutely. It's not an overreaching. It's absolutely ridiculous that they did not use a black accounting firm. They were completely in over their head and didn't care to make things right. Listen, I would have consulted with them for free, to be totally honest with you. Because I still do believe in what they were doing. Again, you got some black people say, how does Black Lives Matter when black folks are still killing black folks in the community? But it's two different things. You got to read the mission statement, and which is all on the website. All right. Tamala says, I definitely assumed they would. It only makes sense that they would have a black accountant. I think. Yeah. But I don't know, y'all. I don't know. All right. Maybe they were like those who believe taxes were filed by their hired people. But they don't have any hired people. They don't have any staff. It's mainly volunteers. All right. So the credit solution says in the article, she says that most of the money came from white folks. She wasn't going to hire a black firm to account for those monies. That's even more reason to hire a black firm. But excuse my exhilarance. Sorry. All right. Yeah, sad AF. Sad as fuck. Now that 90 million donations got those laws changed. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying, that there is some good here. You can't just throw it all out. At $31 per average donation, she could even say that they were mostly white donors. Yeah, I would believe that. A lot. There were some black donors in there too. All right, Marxist communist is used to undermine people and their beliefs. Thank you, each sense. You are correct. People don't seem to know that civil rights activists like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, etc. were labeled Marxists and communists. Yes. And there was a whole, so that is a fact, what each sense said. I don't want to glaze over that. That's an absolute fact. And they use it all the time in propaganda and American news to basically say people are crazy. They don't know what they're doing. They're actually traitors. McCarthyism. So if you go back and you Google McCarthyism, even the oppressors would use that words with some of their other oppressor buddies to discredit them. So that's a long old tactic that goes back quite some time. Okay, so Eat Sense is also from Classy Climb. I'm enjoying the video. All right, cool. Welcome to the Classy Climb crew. Welcome to all the rebels that have been rocking me for a minute. We are family, right? I got all my brothers and sisters with me. All right, so Journey to Jasmine. What's up, Journey? The whole changing of guard was weird with all of the mysterious deaths, including Darren Seals BLM, morphed a lot since its formation, and I don't think it was not in our favor. I would agree. There was a lot of BLM people that got killed in Ferguson. Crazy. No, you don't seem like a conspiracy theorist to me. But guess what? Sometimes some of these conspiracies are true, so they're not technically conspiracies, but that's a whole other conversation too. All right, Northern Bell says, and you can pay less sometimes when you have cash. Yes, that is 1000% a fact. All right, religious organizations. Yes. Yep. I just said that. She's echoing what I said. Thank you, Credit Solutionists. Credit Solutionists were really residential, commercial, both. The one I worked at has both. They just sold off a ton of their real estate a few years ago. A used site in DT Long Beach too. I'm not sure what DT is. That was a weird sell, but they have their reasons, I suppose. Okay. Right next to the convention center. I guess it's hard times have hit them. Okay. All right. So we've been rocking for a minute. And so I am going to go through this 990 as well. I appreciate everybody that's here. Again, if you don't know me, have no clue on who I am, this is the Finance Rebel Show. All right. We talk about money from every angle, business, tax, laws sometimes, right? When it affects your tax or when it affects your money or when it affects your wealth, We talk about it all, but I especially love to talk about black wealth. That's my thing. Oh, downtown. Thank you. I should have known that. Listen, one of my handicaps, y'all, sometimes when I'm reading the comments, I'm literally reading the comments and I'm not processing or comprehending everything to the fullest. I'm trying to get through everything and I'm trying not to make sure people don't get bored. All right, so let's jump back into this tax return, right? If you can understand a tax return, you can understand a lot of things as it relates to people's money. All right, so Black Lives Matter Global Network. Oh, and here is, here is the calendar year, right? So the calendar year is July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. So technically, their return is late. They're going to get a penalty and a fine. They might be able to get some of it abated, but we will see. Again, tax year July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. So they were supposed to file that return 5 months after June 30th. 5 months, 15 days after that filing. Okay. So this is all here. Has the new board chair there. Has 49,275 volunteers. That's crazy. And it has 2 people employed. Now, I find that employed number interesting, and it has 1 person, number of voting members in the governing board. 1 person. 1 person kind of presiding over an army. All right, but anyway, again, $76,872.02. Excuse me, $76,872,002. That's the amount of contributions and grants they got in that time period. Again, from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Can somebody tell me? Do me a favor, I appreciate it if somebody could tell me when the murder occurred. The murder of, oh my goodness, why can't I think of his name? Why can't I think of his name? Somebody help me out. Oh, sorry, I went, the credit solution says she's got a feud on the PC now, sorry. And this is what I need my glasses. George Floyd, that's what I'm thinking of. Can somebody do me a favor and Google when the murder of George Floyd was? That's important. All right, so here we have, again, 76 million, almost 77 million. So that's not 90 million, right? And then there's other revenue, $2,772,707. Okay. And then they made $114 in investment income. That seems a little low, in my opinion. Thank you, May 2020. All right, May 20. Thank you, eCents. May 25th. All right, so George Floyd was murdered heinously May 25th, 2020. So y'all know that's when everything started. The worlds collided. And so it looks like this tax filing year was July 1st, but they started in 2017. They were formed in 2017, but I guess they didn't have enough money. So they filed the 2019 year. They didn't do, so if they tried it, so let me just talk this through. So we know the tax filing year they started was 2017. Their fiscal year, because they're doing a fiscal year, which is July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, right? So at the very least, their first filing date would have been July 1st, 2018 to June, and I think that's wrong, but July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, right? That's when that first tax return should have been filed. Now they do have, okay, all right, that makes sense. So I showed y'all the 2019 tax return and it was all zeros. So that's when they're saying it all went down, that they didn't have anything. Nothing. Not even so. Now, here's what's interesting. Black Lives Matter has been popping for a minute. It's hard for me to believe that they didn't get any contributions in 2017, 2018, or 2019. But they had Sally do the tax returns for the 2019 year. So that was the 2018 and the 2019 year. Sally did those returns. Excuse me, Kay. Kay did those returns. All right. But no other returns were done before that. And it's interesting because they filed a zero return that's saying they didn't make any money whatsoever. They didn't have any contributions whatsoever. Not even the threshold, because again, remember I said you can file a 990N, and again, I'm sorry if I'm being too technical with y'all, but this is important. You can file a 990N if you make $50,000 or less, or if you generate $50,000 or less. They're saying he had zero. Somebody might say I'm dry snitching right now, but listen, my analyst brain can't help it. All right, so going back to the return. So this is the 990, right? You have a 990. This is the big boy. You have a 990 EZ. That's kind of like the little cousin. And then you have a 990N, which only has to be filed when you generate less than $50,000. The 990 is the requirements usually are here. The 990 usually is when you have more than 500,000 in assets and 500,000 in contributions. The 990 EZ is usually when you have 250,000 or more in assets and revenue that was generated. All right. So briefly describe the organization's mission or most significant activity. Heal the past, reimagine the present, and invest in the future of Black lives. I like it. It's catchy. Doesn't sound like a mission though. That to me sounds more like a vision statement, but that's my analyst brain going crazy. All right, so they got grants of 25 million, almost 26 million. Pays. Now this is really interesting because now I'm looking at this again. They pay salaries of $245,839. Professional fundraising fees of $411,000. All right, they have other expenses of $11 million. The overall total fundraising expenses was $909,000, almost $910,000. Overall total expenses were $37 million. Let me get it right. I'm forgetting some zeros. $37,710,135. All right, and so revenue less expenses is $41,934,688. Liabilities. Now this is interesting. Liabilities of 1.75. So $1,755,216. I wonder what for. I wonder why. All right, so again, Kay Valens, I'm not making this up, works for Rubino and Company. Maybe she's an ally, maybe she's not, but I think we are all united, right? The church has said, hey man, there's no reason why BLM should have a non-Black account. Or, and I don't like this term, but a non-person of color account, at the very least, right? Sally's watching the books, but I guess BLM liked the way Sally walked. That's why Kay got the return. But sorry, that's an old school hip hop reference for some of y'all who wasn't born in the 80s. So here, grassroots were working and collaborating with Black leaders. 14 million in expenses. They granted $13 million. Now, again, I want y'all to take y'all time out and show you how to get to it. Go find this tax return, and y'all should be looking at this. If you are working in a community with organizations, use this as a learning lesson. All right, so Healing Justice Program, another almost $13 million. The credit solutionist makes a good point. Maybe, maybe, maybe. But I don't know. That's a good one, though. I mean, I wouldn't dismiss it. I think that definitely can be valid. All right, art and cultural program, we are bringing to life the core values and beliefs of Black Lives Matter in a way that engages and centers Black artists. Okay, they want to change the narrative. That would be a good thing, right? Again, I always say, I'm saying that you can't throw BLM out of you can't throw them all out in the trash. All right, so I'm looking at Nisa's comments. I want to pull this up here. It says, a lot of folks don't know the public can see these returns, no secrets. Yes, that's why I'm doing this. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, right? I'm doing this because I know a lot of people don't even think about looking at these returns, right? Because they don't know that they can go search them. There's a lot of public information out there. Everything I do kind of has a rooting in community, one way, shape, form, or fashion, right? I'm a Black capitalist too, by the way. So just be clear. I have no problem wearing the capitalist tag. If that offends some of y'all, I'm sorry. But I think it's important that Black people were the first capitalists. But again, that's a whole other conversation. But again, a lot of people don't do this. They don't know it. So that's why I'm showing it. Because a lot of us get scammed. There's a lot of social media gurus that are saying that they are doing things for the community under the guise of a nonprofit association, of 501c3, and sometimes they're just giving money to people. Real quick note, I just thought about it. If you give money just to regular individuals and they're not a 501c3 organization, it's not tax deductible. They're not a registered organization. 9 times out of 10, if you're giving out of the kindness of your heart, that's fine. Just know what you're doing. Just know what you're doing. All right, so total program service expenses, $33 million. Now, this is the reason why I don't like doing 990s. There's a lot of questions you gotta ask. Even with a 990 EZ, there's a lot of questions you gotta have. This is interesting. Did the organization report more than $5,000 of grants or other assistance to or for the domestic individuals on Part 9, Column A? If yes, complete parts. So I'm sorry to read this, but this is important. We know there were grants of more than $5,000. Did the organization answer yes to Part 7, Schedule A, line 3, 4, 5 about compensation? Yes. Okay. I'm not going to go through all these because, again, y'all will be mad about this. We can talk about GoFundMes. We can talk about them. Lisa said, let's talk about GoFundMes. Never mind, that's another conversation. All right, organizations that may be receiving deductible contributions, like these 990s, just have questions about questions. Now, another thing that I thought was really, really interesting, and just bear with me for a minute, y'all. Just bear with me, y'all. So, compensation of officers, directors, trustees, key employees, highly compensated employees. So Callie Scales, the former managing director, got $139,625. Worked 0 hours. The average work was 0 hours. And you see here they check the box as an X, right? So former, I don't know if you can see it. Let me blow up the screen. Okay, yeah, I can blow up the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Right? But if she worked 0 hours, why does she get paid $139,000? Now, this could be a typo. But Patrice, who was kind of, like the figurehead of all of this, worked 40 hours. Individual trustee officer didn't list former, but she stepped down. So again, the saying is, there's devil in the detail. I always like to say there's God in the detail, because God in the detail will deliver you from all the nonsense. It will deliver you from the devil. So that's just an interesting tidbit there for me. And again, I have like this, I analyze everything, y'all. So that's 139,000. Now, if you go back, they talked about the employees' compensation. It was more than this 139,000, but we're going to keep going through. Here are the other consultants and independent contractors that got paid. So Bowers Security was her brother, $2.1 million in compensation. Trap Hill LLC is her baby daddy. He got $969. Not sure about Dewey Square and Sadler Strategic Media. No Resistance Labs. So tech support, $500,000 in tech support. That's interesting. So as we keep going, again, you have to list so many things on the 990. It can be really repetitive after a while. So again, the 76 million, that's their royalties. They got royalties for 2.7 million. So I don't know if that's a book deal or what. All right, so here we got some of the programming expenses. Again, 17.9 million for grants as an expense, and that was their programming. So they gave away almost $18 million. And then there's some other grants as well to foreign organizations, 8 million. Now, me personally, I probably would have created a separate organization to do the overseas stuff. That's just me. And they did some other political operations as well. I would have created a separate arm for that also. But that's just me. So, all right, so they have other salaries. All right, so here's the other money, right? $199,000. So part of it was programming expense. 35,000 of it was for management. That's interesting. Then they got pension, which could include a 401k. So they have a 401k plan. Payroll taxes. Legal. $500,000. Now, remember what I said about the accountant? Right, remember what I said filling out that 990 form? But I'm trying to highlight this. I really want to talk about this just a second. So 10 million, let's see if I can make it bigger there. $10 million, $10,000. I'm over exaggerating. Can y'all see that there? $10,294 accounting. So we talked about the 2019 accounting that didn't need to be done. And now we have a $10,294 expense for accounting and the tax year 2020. And I would believe that expense was partly for repairing the 2019. That probably didn't need to be done. That's a lot of money. Listen, shout out to the Rubino firm. They was able to milk the cow, sadly. Well, I mean, listen, man, every penny counts. There were plenty of black firms that would love to got $10,000 worth of work. Again, is it me, y'all? Is it me, y'all? I don't know. But then they spent 1.2 million, almost 1.3 million in lobbying. But let's go back to that real quick. So they spent that in lobbying. A lot of money. Again, I personally wouldn't have done lobbying under the main umbrella. I would have created a separate nonprofit for that. Professional fundraising. All right. Office expense, $380,000. Information technology, $1 million. $1 million, almost $1.1 million. Jeez. Occupancy. This is interesting. $26,798. Travel, $68,444. I don't think travel is that crazy, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think any of these numbers seem large, out of whack, crazy? What do you think about this? Depreciation insurance, $24,601. Total expenses, again, $37,710,135. A lot of money. A lot of money. And they do have land on the books. So we can see this land here on the books for $5 million, almost $6 million. So I'm sure that's a $6 million compound that they brought. Now there's a few more things here and we can get out of here. Just to show you all. Yo, I like you. I like the credit solutionist. She's sharp. She's sharp. So travel during 2020 was not that costly. True. But remember, there were some bans that were lifted. Travel could be planes, trains, and automobiles. I would agree. I would agree. And you got to remember, they were probably flying multiple people and moving multiple people. And she says, I know, I traveled a ton that year. So you wasn't paying attention to no lockdowns. You was out. You was already outside. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So I don't think it depends on how many people they were moving. They have 49,000 volunteers. And so I would have to believe that some of those volunteers were being shifted here and there. That's just my assumption. It's an assumption. I'm going to tell you if I'm making an assumption or not. I'm not going to throw it out there as gospel. So there was a couple other things that I wanted. I mean, we could probably do a 5-hour show on this altogether. So many things. So many things. I wanted to talk about the political campaign activities and lobbying activities. So let's look at it. So hopefully you're not getting seasick by me scrolling through too fast, but wanted to get to it. All right, so they spent $165,000 on media advertisements. They spent $60,000 on direct contact with legislators, their staff, government officials. They spent $31,000 on rallies, demonstrations, and seminars. Right, so the rallies, seminars, and demonstrations could be tied into that travel, that $68,000 in travel, right? Because if you're going to different places, seeing different things, listen, the whole world was on fire at the George Floyd. So there was always somewhere to go. And then other activities of $1 million. Let's see if they break out that other activities. So here's the BREATHE Act. So this is one of the lobbying activities they did do. Lobbying members of Congress and the administration to end the 1033 program. DOJ lobbying members of Congress and the administration. Executive orders lobbying the administration to utilize executive actions to advance racial equity policies. So they use some of it. All right. George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, lobbying members of Congress and the administration against this. All right. So I want to talk about this for a minute. Some people think I'm crazy, but we can't talk about black wealth and be serious about it if not talk about politics. Some people say, well, hey, Kamari, politics is rigged. Everybody's crooked. That very well may be true. But here's the thing. Our livelihoods are tied into the law. The law is created by legislation. Who creates legislation? Politicians, right? So it's not something we can just ignore. We have to look at it. We have to analyze it. We have to fight for it. We have to challenge it, which we've seen our ancestors and our elders do many, many times. But it seems like many of us think politics is a waste of time. There is an election every 6 months somewhere. Sadly, most people don't show up. We just had a big election on Tuesday. A lot of people didn't show up. Sadly. So when you don't show up, you get these minorities. And when I mean minority, I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about a group of people that are able to dictate things. All right, so here's the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, lobbying members of Congress and the administration against the act. Impeachment, lobbying members of Congress to vote in favor for impeachment. California Prop 25, support the veto referendum to repeal the legislation. All right, so here is a supplemental financial statement. Okay, so they're saying this land that they brought, the $6 million worth of land, the land is valued at $3 million, and the building or the housing structure is worth another $3 million. All right, just going through this. There was a couple other pieces. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just trying to pull out all the highlights. So here are the statements of activities. When you're giving money outside the United States. So they gave money to North America. So North America is everything above South America, right? Many times people don't realize that North America is not just the United States of America. It is also Mexico, it is also Canada, and it's also many, many countries, and also many countries in the, oh man, my mouse is messing up with me. It's also many countries in Central America, excuse me, y'all. Sorry about that. So again, that's interesting. Sub-Saharan Africa, they gave $1,500 to. That seems weird. $8 million went to North America and grant making. They gave $1,500 to Sub-Saharan Africa and grant making. So there was other programs they did for North America for consulting communications. Oops, not sharing the screen. My apologies. Hold on, please. This is a sharp lady, y'all. The credit solution, this might be my new BFF. Hold on, I want to get to that because I was actually trying to find that. Give me 1 second. Conducting activities to educate and support Black communities. That's roughly $8 million bucks. There was no comma there, so, and I don't have my glasses on, so everything was all bunched together. There was a couple more things. So the credit solution is just asked this question. Were there auditors named? And that is that. And that is very, very important, right? You're supposed to have independent accounting / auditors to go over the books, check over everything, make sure things are right. And it says here, let's see, the grant agreements require grantees to submit periodic reports concerning the use of grants funds. BLM will maintain a grant agreement for each granted funds, along with each report received from all grantees and additional reports made by the BLM staff or independent auditors concerning the expenditure. So, listen, if they only spent $10,000 on accounting, I don't think there were any auditors. Wait, why did they only spend $1,500 in Africa? I don't know. That's all I got. That's all I got. I don't know. So let's pull this back up. Right. So Schedule F, per the IRS instructions for Schedule F, statements of activities outside the United States, organizations do not have to complete Part 2, line 1, column A, or B, listing the grant recipient by name. However, BLM is choosing to report the foreign grant recipient as M4BJ, operating as Black Lives Matter Canada. Okay. A not-for-profit. And you know what? Somebody asked the question, and I don't think I got a chance to get to it. They asked, oh, here it is. Each sense asked. Let me go back to this before I lose it. What's the difference between nonprofits and not-for-profits? There's not really one. Most of them are not-for-profits. I remember reading years ago that there are some that are strictly designated. These are nonprofit organizations that are strictly designated as not-for-profits. And not every quote-unquote charitable organization or nonprofit is a not-for-profit. And that might not be clear, right? Because it's been a while since I've looked this up. But you have organizations like membership organizations that are quote-unquote nonprofits, but a lot of times their money is not tax deductible. And so you have to be very, very, you have to be careful about that. Shout out to the 10K Project. All right, yes, listen to it on the replay. It will also be up on the podcast replay at some point too, the audio podcast. BLM is a whole mess. Yeah. All right, so here I wanted to find a few more things for y'all to look at, and then I will bid you all adieu. We are almost at 2 hours, and so I appreciate you all that have been rocking with me so far. So here is a supplemental information regarding fundraising or gaming activities. So y'all should look up some of these organizations too. So Fireside Campaigns, 815 16th Street Northwest. Fundraising Council, NDC, 1.4 million. I wonder. All right, I want to do something. Y'all bear with me 1 second. Does anybody have an idea what I'm about to do or what I'm thinking about? Anybody? Come on. Why you blowing up my spot? All right, so let's look at it. Listen, if we're going to be serious about community work, Black folks work, we got to be serious about research. We got to be serious about education, y'all. All right, so yes, the credits solution is, I am looking them up without a doubt. Give me 1 second. Now, Who wants to bet what the makeup of their team is? Anybody want to bet what the makeup of their team is? I haven't gotten to it yet, so I don't have a clue. I'm looking at it brand new, just like y'all. So put in the chat what you think their crew looks like. So let's meet Fireside Chat. Fireside Campaigns is an integral part of running for something team. They've helped us all tell our story, and more importantly, the stories of our campaign, our candidates, and have made our lives much easier by handling the day-to-day of our press operations. Amanda Littman, co-founder, executive director of Run for Something. All right, no pictures. But you can tell by some of these names that a lot of them ain't our folks. So they handle a lot of this. So they had press. Wait a minute. We can get pictures. Yay. Okay, so that's Julian. That's Ryan. That's Ashley. That's Leslie. Okay, we got a little color. Junior Digital Associate. Leslie is a Junior Digital Associate at Fireside Campaigns, where she helps supports the day-to-day campaign, digital communications needs of several clients. Okay. We got Leslie. We got one. We got two. Jordan Johnson. All right. Another Junior Digital. Katie Young. All right. Lucille. Okay. VP of Digital. All right. We got some representation. I would love to know the overall hierarchy of the organization, though. I would love to see the org chart. Senior associate. Let's see. Operations. Let's go to operations. HR operations director, Zakita. All right. Managing director, Melinda Freevert. So, more than likely, let's see. Principal. All right, so we got managing director. So these are code words, y'all. These are people that make decisions. That's what that means. All right, we got Melinda. He's a principal. Somebody who makes decisions. Let's see, are they putting all the decision makers at the bottom? Is that the pattern? Senior associate. Now, for all of you who are interested in politics at all, remember the word opposition research. The term opposition research. Remember that term. All right, so let's see. The credit solution is having a ball. She's looking up now. All right, it's front of you. All right. It's the JT. I guess. So who do they work with? Who do they work with? Well, Black Lives Matter is prominent. Al Gross. Brian Kennedy. Connor Lamb. Interesting. Move, Texas. Michelle Rayner. I'm curious to know. I wonder if most of these are left wing, right wing, or just across the board. So this is Interesting. Yes, Conor Lamb did lose last night to John Fetterman. Very, very interesting. So we know we got the white accountant. This firm has more color than the accountant firm, though. So at least there is some clarity there, right? Listen, I always strive to be objective. I want to be fair and balanced, real balanced, right? So I'm gonna look at one more thing just to see, and then we'll get back to the 990, and everybody can go about their lovely ways, get some rest. This is interesting. This is really interesting. There is a tag. Well, hold on, I'll come right back. I'll show you. Give me 2 seconds. Just give me 2 seconds. Just want to look at something. Try to be thorough. Okay. But there is a really interesting note here. Oh, LinkedIn says Brad is a CEO. Look at the credit solutionists, little journalists out here. All right. That's not what I wanted. Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. And so I'm just showing the data. I really don't care, but So it says meet the team that is a home old, right? Fireside campaigns is a majority queer on progressive. Then I can't get anything else. So I guess they are left leaning for the most part. Okay, so they're progressive. So all right, maybe they get a pass, right? Maybe there are no other Black owned and controlled organizations that do communications. I don't know. I don't know. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? So let's get back to the 990 real quick. Y'all still good? Y'all still with me? Put a 1 in the chat if you're good. Let me know y'all still alive. All right, so let's look at this. Let's look at this. All right, Northern Bell's still here. Who else is here? Let's look at this. I'm going to look at the rest of this. Just to give everybody some clarity. Again, all right, so Fireside Chats, 1.4 million. New Impact Partners, Bauer Consulting Firm. All right. List all the states in which the organization is registered or licensed to solicit contributions or has been notified of its exempt from registration or licensing. All right, so we got Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado. And then there were some other things here. Grants. Okay, so Allied Media Projects. So these are the organizations that they made some of the grants to as well. Again, very interesting. So Allied Media Projects out of Detroit to conduct activities to educate and support Black communities, 400,000. Art Business Collaborative to conduct activities to educate and support Black communities. So it seems like they are using that same one. And it was a total of 42 organizations that they gave money to. There was a couple I thought that were interested, though. Bold Women's Research Network, Bold Women's Leadership Network. Let me blow this up. Do me a favor, if you can see this, don't listen. The credit specialist, you don't have to hush. I love interaction. So bring it on, lady. Bring it on. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We can talk about it. Black trans media, 200,000. And so everybody supposedly is to conduct activities to educate and support Black communities. Black Lives Matter, Philadelphia, my hometown. All right, so they got some money. They got 500,000, $500,000. Chinese Progressive Association, San Francisco. I highlighted this one. $150,000 to conduct activities to educate and support Black communities. I would really love to know what the Chinese Progressive Association is going to do to conduct and educate, to conduct activities to educate and support Black communities. It's possible. It is possible, but yeah, okay. There was a couple others, but again, I found that one really, really interesting. The Haitian Bridge Alliance. I definitely think we should be supporting Haiti more often. We don't give Haiti nearly enough support, in my opinion. But let's see here. National Alumni Association of the Black Panther Party. They gave them $50,000. I wonder what the rationale was for how they doled this money out. National Institute for Peer Support, the Oscar Grant Foundation. I know they gave the Michael Brown Foundation some money, and I know they also gave the George Floyd Foundation some money as well. Team Blackbird, LLC. To conduct activities to educate and support. So they gave a grant to an LLC, which is a for-profit company. Maybe they paid them. All right, the George Floyd Memorial, they gave them $200,000. Michael Brown, they gave the Michael Brown with Love, Our Sons and Daughters Foundation, they gave $1.4 million. So it just seems like it's kind of all over the place. The Trayvon Martin Foundation, $200,000. So again, I'm just going through the Transgender Law Center, $200,000. Trust Africa, $200,000. So there's some more money for Africa. Social and environmental entrepreneurs. So, statement about grants. All right, so this is a 63-page document, y'all. Compensation information. So, receive a severance package or change of control payment. Yes. Right, so, like I was saying before, these 990s can be really, really tricky because there's so many questions. Very meticulous. So, okay, so she worked 0 hours and she got $139,000. But maybe that's the severance that was being referred to. All right, why is it making your head spin? All right, so this was here. The expenditure was for organizational purposes. The decision-making process was performed by the executive director and made in consideration of security threats. So I would have to go back and point this out, but I know what it's for. I want to say it was for Bowers. It was was one of those there. was for several $100,000. All right, and then part one, line 4. Kelly Scales did not serve during the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. However, she did receive a severance payment for calendar year 2020 and the amount of $139,000. Okay, the terms and conditions of the arrangement are confidential. Confidential? Confidential? I wonder why it's confidential. I would love it. What do y'all think? Why do y'all think it's confidential? All right, so transactions with interested persons. Patrice Gallore's founder and executive use of real estate. Patrice Gallore, or is it Patricia? I hope I'm not saying it wrong. All right, so here it is saying, let me blow it up on the screen. Let me blow it up so we can put it under the microscope. Purpose of the loan, original purpose of the loan, $73,523. Balance due, $73,523. So when they said Patrice didn't get any money, there was a loan that still has a balance due. Approved by board of directors, it is said no. In default, no. So it's still in good standing, right? Written agreement, no. Here's the question. And I've dealt with this situation with a couple of nonprofits too. And I'm going to lead into for-profits too. Just give me a minute. Anytime there's a loan, because sometimes you have some people that do work that were supposed to get compensated, and they weren't able to at any given time. Then a rush of cash comes in. They need some money for living or whatever reason, right? They get a loan from an organization. That loan should be written out. It should be a legal document. It should stipulate the date of the loan, the amount of the loan, the term of the loan, and it should have some form of interest. Should have some kind of form of interest. Doesn't have to be as aggressive as the banks or mortgage or anything like that, but there should be some kind of interest. That's just good business practices, right? And it should say when the loan is repayable. When it's repayable. That's not there. That's not there. So $73,000. And again, that's kind of immaterial when we look at the 77 rough, approximately $77 million that they raised. That's like 0.0001%. So I ain't mad at it. But it should be disclosed. It should be transparent. Now, Paul Gallore's father, I think this is, I'm not sure, is that the baby daddy? But is that the brother? I think this is the brother. So this was a business transaction for $841,993. That was for security. Now, here we have a statement. Schedule L, Part 1, excess benefit transaction, name of person, Patrice Gallore's relationship with disqualified person, founder and executive director, right? So this is part of them distancing themselves. Okay, so loans to and from interested persons, name of person, Patrice Gallore, relationship with organization, founder, executive director, purpose of the loan. This was not a loan. This was not a loan. Includes other receivables for travel and disbursements. That's interesting. All right, business transactions involving interested person. Paul Gallore, Gallore's Protection, LLC, right, this is the brother. Relationship between the interested person and organization. Family member of executive director, professional security. Now, I do agree they should have protection. Executive protection. Those are the high level folks. So let's see here. Anything else? The description of organization mission: Black Lives Matter's Global Network Foundation imagines a world where Black people across the diaspora thrive, experience joy, and are not defined by their struggles. I like that. By achieving liberation, we envision a future to be replaced with investment into justice, joy, and culture. I don't know what it means. Sounds good though. Sounds great. And these are a couple other things. So, perspective of the United States throughout the 1.3. Think tank. We are investing in research of Black life and creative solutions that can be used to influence deeper investments and policymaking. We are leading public education campaigns to improve and challenge the material conditions for all people through billboards and a digital video series focusing on racial injustice, police brutality, criminal justice reform, Black immigration, economic injustice, LGBTQIA plus, and human rights, environmental injustice access to healthcare, access to quality information. I'm messing this up, y'all. Access to quality education and voting rights and suppression. This program will include nonpartisan voter education campaigns. Okay. $95,000 for all of that for the think tank. We actually need more think tanks, in my opinion. Black think tanks. But, that's a large amount of this. I'm just scrolling through this. And then we'll begin to wrap this up. I just want to make sure I hit anything else. I told y'all this is going to be a long one. So we're about 2 hours in. Thank you all for who all been rocking with me. I hope you're getting some value out of this. At least understand that now you can go look up these programs. All right, this is another one that was brought about. So remember that entity. So this is the Delaware LLC. This is the Delaware LLC. Now, y'all know I've been riding hard on the LLCs this week. And when you look at this, it says disregarded entity. They don't give it undisclosed business address, hold real estate. That's the primary activity. Delaware is the domicile state where it was created. 5.9 million. And the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is a direct controlling entity. So they have a disregarded entity, meaning that it's an LLC. Usually it's LLCs that get designated as disregarded entities. So they have an outside entity holding those. I ain't mad at that. I might have done it a different way, but I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. So what do y'all think? Got anything out of this? Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, there's a couple things, but I think y'all know how I feel about this already. Like I said, Black Lives Matter has done a lot of good work. They've also made a lot of mistakes. Now, there was an article that I saw with Patrice Cullors on the cover talking about, I don't want to get this wrong. But once this is going to tie into my overall notes on what I think about all of this. But basically they said they don't want to be policed. Where is it? BLM paid co-founder's baby daddy nearly 5 times more than Trayvon Martin. Yeah. So here, I'll show this article. So here's the real takeaway from Black Lives Matter: sketchy finances. Now, this is written by Ernest Owens, and I told y'all we're going to do a part 2 of this. Now, Ernest has agreed to come on, and will probably come on Sunday. Haven't quite figured out the time schedule. So if you want to hear what Ernest has to say, he's a journalist. He's covered BLM through and through. We can talk about this and get into it. But in this, he talked about white guilt money. And so it says here, newly revealed IRS tax documents show social justice nonprofit leaders used white guilt money to enrich themselves. It's time to support local grassroots orgs instead. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I think we need both. We need national organizations that are able to do some bigger things, but we definitely need organizations on the ground. But I just find it guilty that there were some other articles floating around and saying that she felt the pressure of white guilt money. My feeling on that is you wasn't complaining about white guilt money when you was moving. So I don't think it's really cool to kind of claim white guilt money, the pressure of white guilt money, right? When you was moving around. I mean, that's just my thought. That's just my thought. But again, y'all already kind of know a lot of my takeaways, a lot of my thoughts here. I'm really saddened by this, right? Because BLM had a lot of promise, still has a lot of promise. This could have been totally been avoided. Number one, how about get a black accountant? A black accountant that understands money, like really understand it, and understand the plight of the community. There are many of us out here. We are not a minority in the accounting space in that way, right? There's plenty of us that get it, that do good work, that could have been an asset, but again, this is a learning lesson for a lot of nonprofits. It's actually a learning lesson for a lot of businesses in general, right? Other thing is spend more money on your accounting staff. It says here they only spent $10,000 with that Sally firm, or excuse me, K firm, Rubino firm, right? Probably should have had a couple more consultants. Probably should have had a couple more people. There was a lot of consultants, but it wasn't a lot of the right consultants. You got all this money coming in. Again, I don't believe that all those returns were zero returns. I don't. Hopefully, I hope that's not dry snitching. But I find it hard to believe that BLM, which started after Trayvon Martin in 2012, didn't officially organize that organization until 2017. I saw another one that was organized, I believe, before that, but I have to go back and dig that out. But again, why wouldn't you hire more black folks as soon as that money came in? You can't tell me that we were hard to find. All you got to do is do a Google search. I've been doing radio, and this isn't about me, right? I would have done a console for free. You should go talk to him, her, and her. Make your life a whole lot better. There's others out here, right, that could have served the role, but you only spent 10 grand. Paid the lawyer a lot more though. Lawyer got almost like $500,000. That shows the misuses of the priorities. So again, nonprofits, businesses, invest in your bookkeeping, invest in the professionals that are advising you, invest in your accounting. Don't go the cheap route. Don't go the cheap route. All right. Other thing was, well, I kind of told you, but the one person control of the board, we don't need any yes men or women, right? Don't want to leave the sisters out, because sisters actually are the ones that make the world go around in the black community anyway, right? They tend to make things happen. A lot of times people don't point that out though, and that's really, really sad. A lot of times that gets overlooked. When you look at the civil rights movement, a lot of the sisters were overlooked. That's been talked about. I don't get why they didn't do more to come to the table. Again, I don't know why they didn't have stronger people Or maybe they were strong, but they were just silenced. I don't know. And I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the facts are the facts. There was one person voting on the board. That's what was reported. Hopefully they will make that change and move forward and keep using the name in a good way to really, really invest in our community. So that's what I got. I'll check in with a couple of y'all comments real quick, and then we are getting out of here. All right, wait a minute, when I missed something. All right, Credit Solution said it's making our head spin. Sorry. But it's mostly LGBT and immigration organizations. If we're looking at these companies' taxes, do they have to record these grants or no? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Most of these were nonprofits, so some of them should be, if I was doing a deep dive, I had time to do a deep dive, I would start looking at some of the BLM chapters, their nonprofit returns. If they followed them, hopefully they have. I would start looking at those and seeing where the money's going. I'm sure somebody who's looking to discredit them is already doing that. So they should be ready. Hopefully they have good accountants. Hopefully they're Black. Hopefully they're paying them well, right? And we can go on from there. All right, confidentially, because of a raised questions, yeah. So we know one of the founders, had a severance pay and confidentiality agreement. So something was amiss there. Now, the Credit Solution has brought up something that was kind of running through my mind as well. When I brought up that holding company, that Delaware holding company, she says it's disregarded. Single member LLC. Can we assume Patrice was the member? Potentially, because that's what the papers were reporting before. They were saying it was her property. So maybe she signed it over to BLM. I don't know. Don't totally know. But I don't think that's a stretch of the imagination, though. If it wasn't her, who the heck was it? So what's going to happen to BLM? Here's my hope. My hope is that they're able to right the ship, get it together, and keep pushing for political change, legislative change in this country, and globally too. Right, their mission is to impact the Black diaspora, the African diaspora. So hopefully they'll continue to work to that aim. But we will see. We will see. The founder was stepped down, has gone off. Says that she made some mistakes, has admitted she's made some mistakes, and is now looking to do other things, I guess. All right. So Northern Bell says, what's wrong with white guilt money? Nothing if you know what to do with it. The problem is most people don't know what to do with it. And many of those that think they know what to do with it really don't know. Right. One thing a lot of our organizations have to do, they have to start becoming institutional minded. Right. A lot of times we focus a lot of our energy on people, and we need to start looking at institutions, and we need to start building our own institutions. And so an institution isn't just a LLC or a nonprofit. An institution is something that's going to be here for generations. Do any of y'all think that the Red Cross is going anywhere in the next 20 years? What about the United Way? Are they going to be going anywhere in the next 50 years? They are still moving and shaking. They are still going to have impact and affect change for their respective areas. That's an institution, right? When we talk about institutions, right, you got to look at a yeshiva, which is a Jewish college, university. Think that's going anywhere anytime soon? Sadly, when we come back to our Black organizations, a lot of them are not thinking about institutions. Many of them get caught up in petty personal beef. And that's where a lot of the fighting goes at. And it's really sad because the people that need the most amount of help have the greatest amount of dysfunction, the greatest amount of disorganization. Sadly, something's got to give. And that's why I said early on that a lot of times when I'm working with boards and nonprofits, a lot of times many people miss the bigger picture. Many people are thinking about their own personal beef, their own personal strife. totally putting the overall mission of the organization at the back of their mind or out of their mind altogether. So it's really, really sad. But those are the things you got to think about. So again, in these quote unquote debacles, there are lessons. Again, I don't cover them to shame anyone, to besmirch anybody, right? To put down anybody, not trying to kick anybody while they're down. But we have to look at these as lessons now so we don't repeat them going forward. So do me a favor, share this out with some folks. I know it's a little long. At some point I'll come back through and get it chopped out and put it out in segments on the YouTube page, right? So everybody can learn something from this. And like I said, there should be a part 2. Stay tuned. It'll likely happen on Sunday with Mr. Ernest Owens, who is a journalist who has covered BLM extensively for a long time, just to give you a little bit more color and complexion on this. All right. So again, I'm Kamari Ellis. Thank you all for watching the Finance Rebel Show. The Finance Rebel Show is a little bit in flux right now because at one point I was going to work on doing a daily show. I still want to do a daily show, but I might have to rethink it. But we'll see. We'll see. It's still in flux. All right. But thank you all for watching this broadcast. I will be back very, very soon. And you all be great. Do me a favor, go on over and like, comment, and share this video to let the algorithms know that you enjoy the content. You've been here the whole 2 hours and 30 minutes, and you like it, and you like me. That lets the algorithm know that, hey, we should share this out with more people. All right, y'all. We appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I will see you the next time. Have a great night, y'all. Bye-bye.